Welcome to the InfoGov Hot Seat Vodcast, featuring candid interviews with practitioners, consultants, and solution providers on hot topics in the information governance industry. Here's your host, Jim Merrifield.
Well, hello and welcome to the InfoGov Hot Seat. I'm your host, Jim Merrifield, and with me today is Rich Hale at Active Navigation. Hey, welcome, Rich. How you doing?
I'm great. Good to see you. Great to be here. Thanks for the chance to have a play on the podcast.
Of course. We're happy to have you. And so let's start us off. Let's get to know you a little bit. Brief introduction of your role, how long you've been with the company, and then one fun fact about yourself. I told you. Don't forget that fun fact.
Yeah, I had to down select from three. I hope I've picked the most fun one, Jim. So I'm active now as Chief Technology Officer, CTO. As you can tell, I've got an English accent. Hopefully you can tell I've been living in the US for 7 odd years, and hopefully I've not lost it yet. I've been with Active Nav nearly 15 years. I checked on LinkedIn earlier. Sort of a quasi founder. Don't publish this too loudly. Our CEO would be upset. But I came out of the Royal Air Force, the British equivalent of the US Air Force, faced with an information governance problem, and I needed some software. So I met our CEO Peter Baumann and kind of unknowingly wrote the spec for the software, and the story runs from there. So I've been with the product now, with the business now for 15 years, and my role is the product and engineering of the business, everything from the cloud team writing software in the UK to the product team that defines the requirements in the US, and increasingly getting much closer to customers, which sounds like a terrible confession, but so many software companies don't. We're on a big journey to get to know exactly how customers drive value from the software. So that's kind of my responsibility, my role, I guess, in a nutshell.
That's awesome. That's great. So you've been with the company for 15 years. That's a long time.
It's a long time, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So you're a seasoned veteran of this IG stuff, even before IG was IG.
Yeah, well, I got involved when it was all KM, knowledge management. That was the buzz at the time, and I think I heard someone bring it back just lately in a recent call around ILTA, actually, a knowledge manager in a law firm. So maybe it's making a comeback.
Yeah, hey, it certainly is. I mean, we hired a director of KM, and we work really close together, right? Because it's all about extracting value from your data.
So you manage the business case then. It's tough to write a business case for KM, or at least it used to be anyway.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Now IG and KM, I think, tag team with the CIO, and we kind of go to bat. We go to war. So awesome. Well, listen, I saw you guys at Legal Week, right? It took place.
Jim, fun fact, sir.
Oh, fun fact. I can't forget the fun fact.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
It's like, I thought I'd hold you out on that one,
Oh, my goodness.
So, my fun fact, I hope it's fun. So my kids are dancers. And since we've been in the US, we've learned all about what's the equivalent of travel soccer. And that kind of, it's a very special American experience where you do the travel, and we do the same with dance. Some of you may or may not know that, dance is dominated by dance mums. Well, I've taken upon myself to be recognized as a dance dad, which is a big deal when dance mums everywhere. And my strategy that I've adopted is whenever I attend an event, I make a point of baking fresh bread and bringing a charcuterie with me with wine so that I can set myself up and get in with the crowd and become accepted by the dance mum. So hopefully that's a kind of a fact, a fun fact, and certainly something that it's been fascinating to get involved on that scene. So.
Yeah, that's unique. When's the next event? I don't know.
We have just finished the season, Jim. So not for a while now, but I've got to come up with some new bread for next year.
Awesome. All right, that's great. We'll have to do a taste test one of these days. I'll bring the wine. You have the bread and everything else.
That's the deal.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So speaking of events, Legal Week, saw you and your team in New York a couple months back. What were some of your takeaways from Legal Week?
Yeah, we've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with Legal Week, if I may. But first of all, it's always a good event. We like to come across, and I just justify my love-hate because, of course, it's such a focused market on e-discovery and that kind of process. And we're on the left-hand side of the ERM, the kind of IG in data in use, and we found it hard to kind of get our message across. But we really enjoyed our focused engagement with legal professionals this year. We came in, I think, better set up with more in our heads about how we want to make an impact. But our key takeaway, ChatGPT, how can we not talk about that? But, I came into the event thinking, this ChatGPT thing, I still can't work out how it quite plays into our value prop and how we talk about it in a valid way, But a bit of inspiration, really, because we came across this idea of lawyers as innovators and the partners as innovators, and how ChatGPT and generative AI in general kind of sits out there as a real opportunity for innovation. And then it struck me that, of course, IG's requirement, in my opinion, is to support and enable innovation, not just become the police around this thing, but equally, I think, to have the innovators back. And I like to think of it, I was chatting with a few people about how generative AI can essentially spawn data, and then kind of what do your partners do with that? Where does it go? And I'm thinking, you could get some interesting sort of behaviors around generating that data and where it's stored in the firm. And it struck me that IG's got a real role here to not only to police that, but also to sort of have people's back as they do it. And that's kind of the takeaway I came from, which is IG's role in kind of supporting any type of innovation, ChatGPT or other, and ensuring that the partners can kind of get on with their job, innovate, and IG's there catching the issues, the data issues, the privacy issues that arise without kind of getting all over them, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the thing I took away from Legal Week this year.
No, yeah, it does make sense, right? ChatGPT is definitely talked about in every firm, company across the nation, across the world, right? And every piece of software, especially open source, is trying to figure out how ChatGPT fits in. I think law firms and companies as well. So whether we like it or not, we're going to end up using some form of AI in our companies.
Yeah, whether we like it or not, I think that's a good words to use, actually.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, and it was great to meet you in person,
Cool.
you and your team. Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about your team, right? Your internal team focused on governance software, specifically records management.
Yeah, I'm gonna be careful with my specifically around records management, but let me sort of justify that. So yeah, our business 100% focused on front to back on unstructured data and solutions that enable their customers to understand it. Yeah, I've picked my T-shirt today, zero dark data. That's how we look at it. Our job is to ensure that none of your data is dark and that you understand it. And there's so many use cases for the software, but it all boils down to governance, and records management such an important foundation stone for governance. And so the way we look at data is that not only should we be in time introducing specific features around records classification, record schedules for this sort of data, but most importantly for us right now is finding and recognizing records in the wild. Whether it be in your email, in your Teams chat, lying around in your file shares, and that's an important angle. And I'd go a little bit further than that as well. There's so much trash out there. I think your podcast you published yesterday, as Catherine was talking about, kind of people just don't know what they've got, and it's just so much out of there. And so it's like, how do we enable our customers to defensively understand and dispose of that trash before even getting too heavy around records? There's this kind of record class, in my view, which is just get rid, and there's so much in that. And so that's the key question we're focusing on, is once we sort of provide people vision into their data, is how do you just thin out the trash, and then the formal records lifecycle kicks in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the more trash you have, it's hard to find what's valuable, right?
Yeah.
You think of a garage, right? You got a bunch of crap in there, right? And it's snowing out. If it's covering the snowblower, it doesn't do you any good, right? If you can't find it, right? You're going to have to grab the shovel and go to town out there, right?
Nice metaphor, the snowblower as value. There you go. Absolutely true. And to me, particularly kind of like, I see so many records professionals agonizing over a cleanup project, and it kind of blocks it. So it's how do you free that process up,
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. So let's talk about differentiators. There's a lot of competition out there, especially with your piece of software, file analysis and things. What's your key differentiator between you and the competition, would you say?
Yeah, differentiation has been a really big challenge for the reasons you described. The big players out there, I'll avoid their names. Let's not feed them. Kind of claim to do it all and bring resources where, in principle, they could do anything you want. But I think it's encapsulated in what's on my shirt here, Zero Dark Data, and the fact that we really focus on unstructured data. I'll add some sort of context to that. But we think unstructured data is special because it's hard to dispose of. It's hard to bring the right information to the table to enable it to be disposed of confidently at scale. Anyone can review one file, but how do you do with hundreds of millions? And kind of we thought about this a bit. I break it into three things. First of all, our experience is that people tend to treat this as an IT problem. They leave IT carrying the can. And there's a lot of software out there, a lot of solutions by some of the big vendors that kind of provide tools for IT. The problem is those people don't own the data. And so we're focusing on how we level up the usability visualization across all the data, bring the right context to the table so that non-IT users can actually engage. And let me be clear, information professionals, I like the term information professionals because it covers a broad church from the knowledge management through records management, right the way through to more formal data specializations. They're smart. It's not like they're not as smart as the IT guys, but they look at things differently. And so and then they get involved with the business as well, data owners, people who are more vexed by some of the technicalities. And so we're focusing on building a user experience and visualization that enables those people to engage with their data and kind of takes it off IT's plate. That's the first one. I'll skip on quickly. Secondly, we diverse and deep coverage of discovered data, and there's a couple of angles to that. Getting deep with the formats. And then I'll give you examples, getting deep into archive formats, for example, and then beyond that, adding things like text from images and others as well. And there's some real challenges with that, particularly with the performance of some of the libraries that are out there. And also repositories. There's no customer out there that doesn't want you to discover every repository they've got. And so adding in specialist repositories, such as in the legal space I manage, for example, is an important part of that game. The last thing I'd say is, I think we were talking about the business case for knowledge management earlier, business cases are tight for IG, and so in building a cloud service, we're really trying to lower the cost of entry for this type of technology, make it really easy to get started, and sustain it as well. So many projects just die. And so the sustainability of the project, both from a cost perspective and of course the user experience, that's how we're setting ourselves apart, and and the focus as well.
Yeah, great thoughts. I like, out of all those different differentiators, I love the fact that you've positioned your software to take the ownership or the pressure, if you will, off of IT, right? Because they don't really own the data. I mean, they have a lot of tools and a lot of skills to kind of help IG professionals, but at the end of the day, the information governance professional is kind of the liaison between the business
Yep.
and the technical people, right?
Yeah.
And this is what the software has kind of positioned you to do, right?
That's the aim.
It doesn't add more work to the IT professional, right?
That's the aim, and I characterize it. I've spoken to a few IT people, and they're kind of like frustrated because they kind of got stuff. Who owns this stuff? And there's a process that we're working on where kind of the job is, okay, take chunks of stuff, allocate it to this person, and kind of the IT guys' workload goes down, and they farm it out and go, you're responsible for this lump of stuff, get on with it, and hold them accountable. And then people like yourself in an IG role hold data owners accountable for kind of their holdings, which they should be,
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. So let's talk about product features. What product features are you focused on at the moment, and why?
Yeah, first and foremost, back to this user journey. I'll be honest, I don't think we completely nailed it yet, but the user journey through discovery to decision making and disposal is really important here. We show our customers all of their data in a single pane of glass, and then the question is, what do you do next? And so that kind of highlighting a hotspot, providing a path through the data. If you're a kind of a information professional, if you're looking for a compliance perspective and you've got a data map and you understand some regulated data elements are lying in your email, what do you do next? And so the flow is something we're spending a lot of time. And I mentioned earlier on customer discovery, understanding how customers really engage with this outside of IT is the first item. I mentioned repositories. I use the term, we always need N+1 repositories, where N is the number you have today. And so we're developing integrations into some specialist repositories such as I manage for the legal space, and trying to really lean into how we provide a focused solution for a specific vertical. We mentioned differentiation. Perhaps one of the things I should say is we think it's important that we lean harder into specific verticals and address issues like client matter and other things like that in the legal space, or for example in healthcare around patient records, in a way that the big vendors struggle to do. I think that's important. The last one is filling out support for privacy use cases. I think it was a discussion with you I had a while back where we were talking about attesting to where your data is for privacy requirements. Our customers are increasingly telling us that they're being asked by their customers to show responsibility and good stewardship for data. And so our compliance view for data maps and DSAR fulfillment are two areas in that space as well.
Yeah, that's spot on. Of course, I can't help but be excited about what you're doing around client and matter, and with iManage and things like that, right? To be able to put some file analysis on the data inside those repositories, right? Those are the. Hey, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and get to the value. I'm too excited, apologies. But get to the value, yeah? IG always talks about getting to the value. It's such a long journey. You start with the carrot, the stick, sorry, which is the compliance. But where's the carrot? And we got to get there, And I think that comes from those sorts of propositions.
Yeah, I mean, look, 80% of law firm data, I think, according to an ILTA survey, was that it's in the DMS, right?
So good number. I hadn't heard that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's like 80% or something like that. But don't quote me, don't hold me to it. But I'm just, But I mean, that's a lot, right? I mean, that's where the crown jewels are for a law firm.
I kind of don't believe it, Jim. I'm going to say, what about the email? Is there kind of a slice that we're not counting there? I'll be happy to learn wrong, but that's going to be interesting to sort of qualify.
Well, Rich, you're supposed to file your email,
Because I do. I have precisely 5 emails in my inbox right now. I bet your partners aren't in the same situation.
There you go. I'm going to plead the fifth on that one. But anyway, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the future. We talked a little bit about products, talked about differentiators. Where do you see the future state of records management software or IG software in the next, say, 3 years? I know 3 years is a long way out, so if you want to just kind of project a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to try. The biggest story for me that's happened in the last year, and I think is going to keep going, is, again, some key big vendors have really made a push into the space. And I kind of, as a small focused vendor, that can be a bit scary, but I also think you've got to kind of win on those terms. And so, I think what's great is that they bring attention to the information government plight, the need, and I think that's a good thing. And so I think we're going to see increased investment, and add to that privacy regulation. I think we're going to see increased investment there. I hold hope out. I've always considered the privacy as a kind of a two-phase play. The market seems to have responded by doing the easy stuff first, and I kind of get after your big applications and the like, and kind of ignored the wealth of unstructured data lying around. I'm hoping and expecting that will come as the big vendors make a push, and as the bar goes up for privacy. In data discovery, I've often thought in the past, what happens if everyone consolidates? To your point, 80% in the DMS. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So I think customers are still going to be dealing with a diverse range of repositories, and of course, new repositories come all the time. All of those are going to get darker and darker. Records management in chat, records management in text, records management in email. No one's cracked that yet, and so I think those problems still persist, and I don't think they're going to be solved easily by the big vendors. And so, for us, despite the allure of the big do-it-all vendors, our prediction, perhaps a little bit self-servingly, but I'm going to lean into it, is there's still going to be a need for specialist support for unstructured data, because privacy is going to make it untenable to stay away, to ignore it, and for people in roles like yourselves to be confident on how they handle risk and retention in those data sources. They're going to need discovery products like ours, to handle the increasing pressure from their customers, and to be responsible, to prove they're being responsible around their data. And on that point, I was inspired a little bit again by one of your previous podcasts and the discussion we've been having in incident response. I'd like to make a little prediction here. It's not really a prediction, but here's what I'd love to happen. I'd love to see cyber insurance recognizing that understanding data is really important part of the risk management process here for data. And what about a world where cyber insurance says, Mr. Customer, to attract this particular premium on your account, you're going to need to prove to us that not only have you got the stable door bolted and your permissions in your DLP, but you've also got a responsible discovery program around your data so that you know what you've actually got. And that for me, maybe that's 5 years out, but that's what I'd love to see happen.
Hey, listen, I don't think it's wishful thinking, because privacy is probably the hottest word in our industry right now, right? Because data classification used to be like, if you have budget for it, you might want to look into it. Now, whether you're a law firm or a corporation, you must classify your data to meet privacy regulations, right? So that's great. So, Rich, it was great to sit down with you. Any final thoughts for the audience?
Ooh,
I know I threw that zinger on you.
Yeah, that's a zinger, isn't it? Yeah. So, any final thoughts? Yeah. The final thoughts for me then, I guess, is it's great to see, as you said, privacy driving up the bar for data, what I think of as data stewardship across the board. I would love. I think we're going to have to deal with that regardless. It will be great to start thinking about value in our space, and that's why we're working on the client matter problem as well, because I think IG needs to move in that direction as quickly as it possibly can, and so it's just great to see that sort of investment, and we hope we can be part of that journey.
Yeah, for sure. And Rich, again, thank you so much for spending some time with me on the hot seat and sharing your insights. It was very valuable.
Thanks for the opportunity, Jim. Great to be part of the story.
Yeah, of course. And listen, if you'd like to be a guest like Rich on the InfoGov hot seat, please submit your information through our website. And thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the InfoGov Hot Seat. Follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and LinkedIn. Check out our main website at infogovhotseat.com to view our latest episodes and much more.